Boy, do I have something for you. I know it's not the normal setup for this school of blockchain, but I just went to this event, Vietnam Blockchain Hub, and yeah, I'm gonna speak there tomorrow. Anyways, this event was way better than I expected it to be. I got there and was expecting like a few people getting up, speaking about their company, try to get some money or something like that. That's how it usually works in this industry. However, at this event I got gold. I got gold information and I wanted to bring it to you guys. The first video I'm gonna release this week is when 3 lawyers went up and had a panel talk about cryptocurrency regulation, exchanges regulation, and more. So it was 1 lawyer from the States, 1 lawyer from Switzerland, and 1 lawyer from Europe. That's freaking dream. That's like all the markets that everybody is wondering about. So those 3 lawyers gave some really good information about starting crypto exchanges, starting cryptocurrencies, and more in Europe, United States, and of course Switzerland. Switzerland is Europe, but yeah, you understand what I mean. Anyways, before I show this video, I just wanted to tell you, please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me when I see that count going up of the School of Blockchain subscribers. My name is Magnus Detmar. Before I show the video of them 3 sitting and talking about regulation with cryptocurrencies, I just wanna roll the intro.
Coming up with a real legislation and European level concerning ICOs and exchange platforms. And now we have different national initiatives in different member states to regulate both ICOs and exchange platforms. Again, it's just about utility tokens, not security tokens. Again, why? Because securities in Europe are regulated at European level, and it's going to take much more time to change security legislations in Europe. So just utility tokens are being regulated by some member states, and Estonia, France will come up with a legislation early next year about ICOs and possibly exchange platforms, and Malta, small member state in Europe, but which is taking the lead in Europe concerning regulations around crypto finance with a comprehensive legislation on ICOs, where you will have in October to be regulated by the existing financial regulator and FCA to be authorized to issue an ICO for Malta. Interesting legislation. And same for exchange platforms. The advantage of Malta is that they will regulate exchange platforms not only in terms of KYC, AML, but also in terms of anti-market abuse regulations. We will have a word about the practices of the exchange platforms afterwards, but this is also a very important point. This is, and I will not talk about Switzerland, because we have a very prestigious here blockchain lawyer, and will, if you want, say a word about Switzerland. But this is the overview of the situation. Maybe you would like to react to what just I said, if you don't mind.
In most of the countries we have not a law or regulation yet. Yeah? And even if a law is coming out, it takes 2, 3, 4 years until the first courts have decided about certain aspects of it. So we are now talking about the next 5 years in changing it. And for me, one topic is, and this you mentioned, is really important. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies are not designed to make money laundering. And so we should take the clean approach and not the dirty approach, meaning that with the base of KYC and AML, meaning that if you're doing an ICO, there is no way out of my opinion not to do a KYC AML process on any contributor on the ICO, otherwise you have a lot of problems. And even if you go beyond on exchanges, you can say I have transactions where I don't need to know the owner of the wallet. But if you come into a normal commercial area, where you need banks and where you need other parties to trust, and even there it makes sense and as an advantage to know who's the owner and is identified by a proper setup. But beside of this, I would say regulation worldwide is uncertain, and if we are talking with a lot of lawyers, even ourselves, we cannot assume how the different legislation will go. In Switzerland, you can go now and do utility tokens, and they just also some security tokens as utility tokens, so that you don't have a problem. The same in Liechtenstein. But this is an opinion of FINMA in Switzerland, which could change if they see a negative aspect. We have a very liberal environment in Switzerland and a very fast one, so I'm very happy to be in Switzerland. And for at the moment, it's a good place to go there, like Malta and Singapore, with your ICO and even with that. But we should not do one mistake, and this is my lessons learned out of the last 3 years. We now try to add to a decentralized idea, to decentralized products, a centralized legal regulatory strategy. So looking what is available and taking one lawyer from Europe, one from the US, another one from Asia, and adding more and more lawyers to our projects to find out what we can do, and then we slow down the fast train. So I would say, let's be a little bit proud of ourselves. Let's do a decentralized legal strategy, because this is to our decentralized world, meaning we have to define what product we need, what application we want to do, and then take lawyers out of different countries and find 1 or 2 landing spots where we are regulatory fine at the moment. And if this changes, we should have the flexibility to change to other destinations. We have 210 countries. For blockchain technology, we need not even 1. For cryptocurrencies, I need minimum 1, because I have somewhere the edge to fiat. And this is my voting, so to say. Take all your valid information, which are perfect, but don't be scared as a result of it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. And for regulation, I totally agree with you. But let's move to the US. I think Celia is in connection with what's going on at the Congress in Washington in terms of regulations. And so, can you just for the sake of clarity, because clarity is very important here, because it's not easy to understand those concepts, you know. And can you just sum up, you know, what's going on in the US in terms of regulations of the crypto economy?
Sure. So, the US is a little similar to Europe. And you mentioned this new pan-European, this new KYC within the US, there are 2 different set of laws that apply. Number 1, you have securities law, which is the more sexy topic. Tax is always a big issue. But then you also have something called money service business laws. Now, this is actually very similar to what we're talking about in the EU now. All exchanges in the US, if they're looking to operate legally, already do KYC and AML. Because of this, most ICOs also already do KYC and AML, because they want to be able to list on exchanges down the line. There's also some ICOs, like Ripple, that have to register as money service businesses. So that's one aspect to worry about, because the US government doesn't want you issuing your own currency. It's similar to anywhere else. Second, there's securities law. So here comes the question of whether you fall into the definition of a security, or if you are this undefined thing that's called a utility token. Right? Utility token is a made-up term, but are you a utility token or are you a security? If you're a utility token, you still have to worry about MXD laws. You can still probably be in your case, YC, AML, because you're ultimately going to look to list on an exchange and get liquidity. But you also want to structure your token so it's not a security. And in the US, there's something called the Howey test that sort of determines this. Basically, the question is, are people investing money into a common enterprise with the expectation of profits from the efforts of others, right? So that's your typical company. If I invest in a startup, I'm putting my money in, and you know, for the record, Bitcoin, Ether, whatever you're putting in, it counts as money. And I'm looking to make a profit then, I'm looking to make more money based on how that project goes. So a team is building up that project, they're going to make my tokens worth more. And unfortunately, this describes a lot of ICOs, right? You're buying their tokens, they're creating a project, and token value is going to go up. What's emerged right now, though, is a sort of peace. The SEC has gone after some ICOs, not all, because they see a need for allowing some of this innovation coming to the US, right? I think, in my view, the ICO, right, the idea of selling tokens, is more related to Kickstarter than it is an IPO, right, where it kind of makes a thing. You're selling a product to the public, which is supporting your project. Right? That's the basic idea. The product happens to be a token, but, you know, let's say you're going to build a Chuck E. Cheese coin. Any people here familiar with Chuck E. Cheese? You go in, you put the coin in, and you play a game. Right? Similar concept here with these building tokens. You put the coin in, you get to play. So there's that sort of root of ICOs. Where you start to bring in the idea of making money off of them, maybe the one is exchangeable, tradable, it starts to run into securities law. So I can't say what the SEC has decided yet, because it hasn't. Will it ever? I don't know. What they have are a series of actions. So they'll sue some company, and then you have to ask yourself, okay, what does this mean? Right? What it means right now is, if you're an ICO, generally, if you have a working product and you're selling to US investors, you can avoid the definition of security. That doesn't mean that you're not a security. That means for now they might not come after you. And this is sort of what the industry has accepted also. So I work with exchanges, for example, to get tokens listed on those exchanges. The exchanges don't want to list securities, they only want to list utilities. So there's been a consensus generally amongst these exchanges, which are scared of listing securities, that what they're going to do is look for tokens that have a product, that have a platform that can be used. So what a lot of my clients are doing are maybe launching abroad, and then coming into the US once they have, you know, because they're ICO abroad, they raise money, they do KYC and AML still, but then they'll come into the US to list their tokens once they have a platform. Or some will list securities to raise money, like a traditional startup would, or raise from a SaaS. And then once they have a product up and running, they'll look to sell to the public and to list their tokens. So these are two different methods that have come up. Now, on the security side of things, let's say your token is a security, the question doesn't end there, right? There's several different layers to this. You have first the initial coin offering. So if you're a security, you have to follow certain laws in marketing to the public. The reason for this are because the public generally needs to be protected. I'm a lawyer, I actually believe this. How many of you have seen Wolf of Wall Street? All right. Perfect example, right? Within the crypto space, we had a few of these instances in the last year. So 2017 was the year where there was massive, under-delivering projects. You had a lot of advertising going on in the space, a lot of evangelism, and a lot of people putting money, which is now sort of going away. It's a little controversial to say at a blockchain conference, so I hope you'll forgive me. But there's a reason for these laws, is the point here. Right? And that can sort of be used when we're looking at where the law should go from here, what the decentralized approach that you were talking about should be. We can look to this, right? What's the policy aspect of this? What are we trying to accomplish?
Thanks, Hadley. Can we say just to make of the ICO of the token is not available, cannot be used to consume the promised service, and the only thing you can do with the token is to trade it on a platform, then it would be presumed to be a security. Is it a simple way to phrase it?
not a simple way, no. So there's...
Try to make it simple.
So if a line has to be drawn, that's beginning to be part of the line. The simplest thing I can phrase it as is are those 4 factors I gave you. Is money being invested in a common enterprise, like a company or something like that, with an expectation of profit from the efforts of others. That's the simplest line I can give you. After that, it's starting to become, yes, if something is already produced, then it starts to look like those factors are there.
Just again, this is for clarity. Just say a few words, and after we'll move to the Asian part of the world. Can you just say a few words about the film acquisition?
At least I think some of the traditional, the other governments have developed out of it. So they do they divide between utility token, asset and security, at least in a absolutely similar way. And like you have shown it up, the draw line is there. But even Switzerland, and also I would take Liechtenstein on board as well, they are still in a way not certain. So you have cases where, out of my view, security tokens are just a utility token and the other way around. And so it shows up that
there's not that much clarity in Switzerland either. That's what you mean?
Yeah, because FINMA said we give a statement what we think at the moment, but we try to reserve the right to change our opinion. We have to look at it. So the Swiss people are all very liberal, even the authorities, but also very, how you always say, very precise. So first they say, this is our frame. Frame is we have a utility token, we have security, or we have an asset-backed token, or what.
It's on a case-by-case basis anyway.
Yeah, you get an approval but in Switzerland you have one advantage. If you have a project, you can go to the authority, put your case on it, and you get the requirement, you get the statement you can rely on. And this is a very simple and way how to check it out, where you are justified. And Liechtenstein is the same.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a number of complexities, right? So people who are trying to define utility token, security token definition. And I think the complexity comes from the fact that any kind of definition by regulatory standards is tied to one jurisdiction. So as Guido pointed out, right now we are operating in a centralized paradigm when we are talking about assets which are potentially global and decentralized. The other complexity is that we are unbundling properties of certain instruments. Securities are constructs by law in, let's say, in the US, and they have certain features. When we're looking at tokens, we have to look behind, okay, what is the right that is attached to that token? And it might be completely different than what we have seen in the securities markets. Utilities is obviously one of those examples, but if you want to be honest, most utility tokens, if they are truly pure utility tokens, or nothing else than a voucher. At Starbucks, I buy a voucher, I can buy a coffee for it later, right? I don't want to buy it now. It's exactly the same thing, so it's not such an innovation. But the complexity comes from the fact that there's a lot of innovation coming from the properties of these instruments. There's a lot of innovation across jurisdictions which is happening, and the current centralized global standards can't really address this at the moment. Again, we have a question of what was raised by you earlier, centralized versus decentralized in terms of, let's say, the exchanges or all these venues. So we are looking for decentralization across projects, right, across financial instruments as a community. At the same time, we are still dealing with gatekeepers, banks, where an ICO raises in Switzerland, Singapore, or the US, they would like to put the money somewhere and use it because they can't spend Ether, they can't spend Bitcoin. The gatekeepers are the banks, which the only reason why the projects are honestly looking at KYC is because the banks haven't been taking that money. So we had this discussion with Guido that even in Switzerland it is difficult to open a bank account for an ICO project. It is difficult globally and in multiple other jurisdictions. So when we are looking at regulation and how it is going to evolve, there needs to be a regulatory innovation as well. And I'm very happy that what Guido said, that yes, this regulatory innovation should be potentially above national boundaries and states, because that would be truly enabling how you can utilize blockchain-based assets. So we are looking at assets which are global. From Fusion Capital's perspective, we are looking at projects which have fundamentals but have a global perspective. With a global perspective, you don't want to confine to the regulatory background of 180 countries globally, because that is going to kill the business model, at least from the legal cost point of view.
May I add one thing? We are looking out to the differentiation between security token and utility token, and it's really important for any ICO project and any new project. But we should also look a little bit beyond what's coming up, even from the legal side. And in my opinion, we should not limit us on this discussion between the differentiation what token it is. In my opinion, if we are talking about currencies, we will need in our globe, in the blockchain environment, crypto banks. We need banks with a full banking license in the EU, in the United States, in Asia, in Africa, where we are getting ourselves independent to have an access to the old fiat world for the next 10 years until we don't need the banks anymore, because we just do it mobile by mobile fully. But in this case, so we need at least a full banking license, even if we don't hold it in our own project, because not any project can do it, but if we put projects together, we need it in the ecosystem to have this independent flexibility, and then also to slowly develop all the regulations of full banking license to our crypto world. I was about 2 months ago, I was with the German National Bank and the German FINMA regulation in an 8-hour meeting, because we want to establish a crypto bank in Germany, which does our debit card and then accounts later on, so that we are on the surface the crypto and fiat for the user in the same way with 2 technical systems done. Just the announcement that we would go for it raised up about 12 people coming from all over Germany, from all departments, who have been scared what's going on, and we had an over 8 hours discussion with them to so slowly take out some fears and say what could be now the first steps to develop or to accept by the regulators that we going for this crypto way. But this way we have to go, because if we don't do, we don't have this environment. So any of the projects want to develop the business of the project, and therefore we need at least in a final end a full banking license.
I anticipate that in the next 12 months there will be very quick shifts in that area, because we can see now in Europe that so-called neo-banks are moving now more and more towards the crypto business. And when we are saying crypto neo-banks, it's not necessarily actual banks. It could be what we call in Europe electronic money institutions, EMI. And the big difference between an EMI today, an EMI and a bank, is the direct access to the IBAN system, right? If you are a bank, you depend on a central bank, and you can attribute your own IBAN accounts to your own customers, right? If you are a payment service provider or an EMI, which basically provides the same payment services as a bank, you don't have access directly to the central bank. You need to go through a bank to be authorized to attribute your own IBAN account. So if there are some funds coming in and out from an exchange platform through the neobank, can be blocked by the corresponding bank. Okay? But it is changing. It is changing. Some central banks in Europe now are accepting EMI directly, you know, as if they were banks, and so that they will be able, it's a matter of a couple of months now, to attribute their own IBAN accounts, and they are crypto-friendly. So there will be a huge shift, this is my anticipation, huge shift in Europe concerning what you are talking about. It's a matter maybe of 3 to 6 months. But just before, I don't know how much time we have, but just a few words about exchange platforms and the listing practices. And I will ask Habib just to say a few words about what's going on in the US concerning exchange platforms regulations. But in Europe, we have a good example with Malta. Malta has come up with new regulations that should be enforced next month about exchange platforms. And what Malta did is very simple. They sort of copy-pasted existing European regulations on stock exchanges, and they applied them to utility token exchange platforms, right? Saying now you have to comply with anti-market abuse regulations. So like pump and dump practice is over, you know, I'm gonna sue you guys, exchange platforms, if you accept those practices. It doesn't exist in the rest of Europe. Nothing of that kind exists because we are talking about utility tokens, not securities. So they copy-pasted the security legislations and applied them to exchange platforms. Probably the same will happen in France next year, in Gibraltar, and more countries. Germany is also engaged in the same process. So can you just say what's going on now, today, Coinbase, Kraken, etc. Okay, KYC, AML obligations, everybody agrees on the fact they must apply KYC AML obligations. But what about those listing practices?
Fringe players, they're making billions a year. I work with Bitrex, for example, right? They're logging, they're doing everything. They have a lot at stake, so they're looking at to stay compliant. So they're going to be looking at your team, right? They're going to be doing background checks on everyone. They're going to be looking at the tokenomics. That becomes pretty important. Looking at the distribution of the tokens as well. Like you said, you want to avoid pump and dump schemes. And they're starting now. So the US has had this MSB regime that has governed the exchanges and some tokens with regards to utility tokens, right? It does not have too much in the way of these anti-abuse regulations that you're talking about right now, because these MSB laws have always been a little more, they've never applied to something this drastic before, right? So that's something new. What you are seeing a lot of these exchanges also do is apply for securities exchange status within the United States. So they came with security. So perhaps then you can freely trade very easily within an exchange from securities to tokens back and forth. And security tokens as well, right? So the exchanges are things that where it gets dicey for the US government, which we kind of alluded to, is the prospect of decentralized exchange. And I think there you're having, not right now the SEC or FinCEN regulates MSBs, but who's more concerned about that right now, I think, are people like the Drug Enforcement Agency, the FBI, because suddenly it's hard to track where all this money is going. And I think where you're likely going to see are the regulation of the tokens themselves and the people issuing them, which is an easier single source to get at than the decentralized exchanges.
By the way, in Switzerland we have an intermediate now for, if you come to a security token, that you get an SRO membership. This is an independent private organization, self-regulating, and with this you can fulfill quite easy the fulfillment. You have to do KYC and AML on a proper level, but if you can document it in a good way, then you have already reached a certain level which gives you regulatory freedom in Switzerland for your project.
Thank you very much. I think we have a couple of time for a couple of questions from the audience. Great, congratulations, very interesting topic.